Hola. Hi. I'm John Wainman, the curator of the exhibition Beyond the Trenches, 1936 to 1939, photographs by Alec Wainman. Alec Wainman was my father, British-born, later in his life spent time in Canada, grew up there as an adolescent, and after a keen interest in languages, went to study languages at Oxford, Russian and Italian. He was thrown into the 1930s in a very turbulent time in Europe, pre-World War II. And this exhibition here shows his photographs that he took as an amateur photographer during the Spanish Civil War. He came to Spain as a volunteer ambulance driver with the British Medical Unit in end of August 1936. With him, he took his companion, faithful companion, his Leica camera. What's quite extraordinary is, as you can see behind me here, this was the militia that mobilized to defend the legally voted Republican government, or government of the Spanish Republic. And this militia, initially composed of trade unionists, then went on to fight a government, or rather a military coup that we'll see here in the first part of the exhibition, where we go into Barcelona, epicenter of the revolution. Now, when you go through Barcelona, you'll see pictures of the city, the propaganda posters, military training of the young recruits that were trained at that point to go into the last Battle of the Ebro. You'll see the arrival of the Abraham Lincoln Battalion. Americans, but not only Americans, came from all over the world. Some of the volunteers came from the Philippines that you'll see. Some of the volunteers were African Americans. Some of them were First Nations, Indigenous American. So you'll see that when you come into the first room. The second room is very much focused on what the Spanish Republic was about, which is education and reading. And that is the book fair in Barcelona in 1938. You'll see pictures of that. And really, also what was the most popular part of that book fair was the Bible, surprisingly, in a republic that was initially very anti-clerical. Further on, if you go then to the next room, you'll be in the land and people. And the land and people is very fundamental. In his photographs, he was very close to the people. As an apolitical Quaker volunteer, he spent a lot of time learning the language, which he became fluent in. He spoke fluent Spanish, then later Catalan, and after the war and during the end of the war, learned even Basque, to speak them all fluently. In that part of the exhibition, Land and People, you'll see some of the first pictures taken with infrared film, and pictures of the country, the industrial heritage of Catalonia, the Tossa de Mar with the Johnson family, the Casa Johnson Hotel, very famous for all of the visitors they had. You'll see Catalan artist Joaquim Mir in his garden, in his element. And this is really what this exhibition is about. It's about the people. It's not about sides. It's about history, and how in that point of history, that one moment of history, he discovered so much through the lens of his camera. You then go on to see the last part of the exhibition, which is the worldwide solidarity. What happened in the Republic, in the Spanish Republic, was there were very few doctors, and most of the doctors had gone to the other side. So there was this huge vacuum, this huge healthcare vacuum in the country, where volunteers had to come from all over the world to help the medical services. Now, those volunteers are portraited here. It's quite fascinating because you'll see people from New Zealand, you'll see people from Australia, you'll see World War I veterans that came back as volunteers, both military and humanitarian, to the Spanish Republic to aid the Spanish Republic. You'll see all of the nurses from all of these different areas, and also how they trained the people, how they had a hospital train in Lleida, and how that really showed all of the work that was done with these international teams. As well, Doug Jolly, who's really in many ways the father of MASH and Mobile Army Surgical Hospital, but also Médecins Sans Frontières or Doctors Without Borders. because these people operated in tremendously difficult conditions on a front that was 1,300 kilometers long. The blood transfusions, Dr. Reginald Saxton, South African-born, British-educated Cambridge doctor, you'll see him right in action, what he's doing with blood transfusions. Doug Jolly's operations were trend-setting. They were some of the most complex operations done. He had a lot less losses in the war than they did in the First World War. And Dr. Moises Brogi, who's probably the most famous Spanish doctor, surgeon of the war, described Doug as the most valuable doctor and the best doctor we had in the Republic. So I'd like you to share this with you. I think it's a unique opportunity. I think this showed me the most important part of 20th century history. I have never learned so much as I have after discovering these photographs 5 years ago in a suitcase in London. This has brought me more and closer to the 20th century than I've ever been in my life. But I also saw the light of the Spanish Republic and the light that you'll see in these photographs, because they show the people, the soul of the Republic. Thus, the title of my books with my father, Almas Vivas, La Guerra Civil Española en Imágenes in Spanish, or Live Souls, Fotos Inéditas de la Guerra Civil. So I really do hope you enjoy this and come and see this exhibition, because I think, as I have, you will in many ways learn more about the 20th century and your own country than I have ever learned in my life.